of others. We'll just give an overview of what happens since you start building an iOS app and getting it to the App Store sorry, and getting it to the App Store for your end customers. So you start developing your iOS app in Xcode, which is an editor that's given by Apple for you to build apps. So that's the top. That's on the top. Once you finish your coding, once you finish all your unit tests, you test in the simulator. Uh, that is what is the first phase. Once you're done with the testing, you need to distribute your app to set of testers who will test your app on a physical device. Testing in a simulator and testing in a physical device gives a lot of differences because usually the simulator is faster than your actual physical device, and hence before submitting your app to App Store, before you roll out to your end customers, it's always essential that you test and you see how your app looks in the actual physical device. And the whole entire lot of thing that's given in the right hand side is needed for you to distribute your app to the physical device. As long as you test in the simulator, you don't need any of these things. But for rolling out to a physical device, you need to have all these things. So before we come to provisioning profile, we'll just see the bottom three. For consider any app, you have the app. You need to know the target device, and then the middle one will come at last. So what is an app ID? Whenever you create a new app, you get a unique ID from Apple for the app. So one is the identifier that you give to the app. Say your product name, your company name, something like com.thoughtworks.ios app. So that's something that you give as a unique ID for your app. Similarly, Apple gives an ID to the app. So the combination of these two forms the app ID, which uniquely identifies your app. The last one is the device. So when you roll out your app to the physical device, you need to collect all the unique IDs of the device and mention that these are the devices that my app can be installed to. So this is not for distributing your app to the actual app store. This is for distributing your app to the testers who can test. So you have 10 testers in your group. You want to distribute your app to 10 different iPhones. You collect the unique ID of every iPhone and you together constitute, so that the 10 UV IDs together constitute along with the app ID and certificate what is called a provisioning profile. So coming to the certificate, when you register yourself as an Apple developer in the developer portal in Apple, you get a unique certificate for yourself that Apple gives you stating that you are authorized to develop an iOS app. So I will have a certificate for myself stating I'm an iOS developer that is certified by Apple. So each one of you will get your own certificate, which is called a developer certificate, that you need to develop an iOS app. And when you request to Apple for a developer certificate, it gives you a pair of keys, which is a private public key similar to our asymmetric cryptography, and each of the developer certificates will be signed by your own private key. So why do we need this certificate? It's just enough if we have a unique ID for our app and the set of devices that we are going to deploy the app to. The purpose of the certificate is that Apple ensures that you are the one who is building the app. You are the one who is distributing the app. So it's like signing on the app stating that I am the one who's building the app and only I can distribute the app to the customers. So that trust is given by the certificate. So the app, the end devices and the trust together constitutes the provisioning profile. So you need this entire bunch for your app to roll out to the physical device. And so how do you there are sort of beta testing providers like Crashlytics and TestFlight. So we'll come to them later. So they will help you to actually load your app to the 10 different testers that I told. So with the help of provisioning profile and certificate, the Crashlytics is a tool that will help to distribute your app to those 10 devices. And once those 10 testers test all your app in the physical device, and once your app works fine, then you upload your app's binary to iTunes Connect. iTunes Connect is an interface that gets all your apps binary, the screenshots of your app, and the metadata, the description of your app, whatever you see on the App Store when you download on your app, whatever information you get to see on that, or what are your release notes, all those things we upload to iTunes Connect for every release. And once we upload to iTunes Connect, Apple internally reviews every app before it's actually released to the end customer. So it's not done by just uploading to iTunes Connect. Apple takes 2 or 3 days to review your entire app, and once it approves, only then it can be released to the customer. If Apple rejects your app, then you need to undergo this cycle again to get back to the next submission. Any doubts so far? Okay. So why do we need Fastlane in this entire process? So if you see, so when you develop your code, you'll have a lot of unit tests that you'll need to run before you roll out your app to the testing group. And then coming to the entire provisioning profile and certificates, consider if there's a new developer added to your team. He'll get a new developer certificate from Apple, which has to be added to your provisioning profile. Consider there's a new tester to your team. He has a new iPhone. The UDID of the iPhone has to be added to your devices list. And in every time you get a new device or you get a new development certificate, then you need to update your provisioning profile, and all your developers have to download the provisioning profile once again in their local machines and then start continuing the development. So even the smallest change in the certificate or device would require the total updation of the provisioning profile, which you need to do every time. And at times you will I think if you are developed iOS, then there are a lot of times that you will face issues with provisioning profile not being updated, or the signing of the certificate codes. The code signing issue is essentially the issues when your certificate isn't properly signed, your certificate isn't properly attached to the provisioning profile. All such issues would crop up when you develop apps. And every time you figure out all these things, you need to distribute to the testers. And every time you finalize on your release, you need to capture the screenshots of your latest screens. You need to write your own release notes. You need to upload the binary to the iTunes Connect. So this cycle has to be repeated for each and every release. So Fastlane is something that automates this entire deployment. So basically, it helps you to run tests. It helps to resolve all your code signing issues. It helps to distribute your testing to the beta providers. It also helps to upload your end product, upload your binary to the iTunes Connect. So Vijay will continue on setting up Fastlane.
So hello everyone. Now I am going to talk about how to set up your Fastlane in your machine. So for setting up the Fastlane, you have one sorry, you have one application. So first I am going to create one iOS application. So this is single view application, and here you are writing your product name. So now your iOS app is prepared. Now you should run it. For running the app, you have to click that triangle, or you can do command for running the app. So now your iPhone app is created. So so now you can set your Fastlane in that app. So before setting the Fastlane, you have to set up your Xcode command line tool. You have to install command line tools in command line tools here. So for setting up the command line tools, this is the this is the command for setting up the command line tools. So here the command line is already installed. That's why it is giving a issue. Otherwise, it is giving a pop-up that's just by clicking that you can install the command line tools. So Fastlane is a gem. So you should install that gem first, and then so it is saying your Fastlane gem is successfully installed. Now we are going to initialize that Fastlane. So it needs one Apple ID that is created in your Apple. So right now it is verifying the app that is it is on available on Apple Developer Portal and iTunes Connect. So it is giving an error because it is not connected with iTunes Connects. So now it is asking for our app name, app ID. So now your Fastlane is initialized for your app. So now you can your Apple has some default unit test and UI tests. So for running the test, you have to for running the test, Fastlane provides us one tool called Scan. By using Scan, you can run all the tests. So now it is running all the tests on your device. So all tests are successfully passed. The number of tests are three and that are successfully passed. And it is store all the test information in one HTML file, and that we can open in browser. So here all the tests. Here is your failing test, and here is your passing test. Software scan the Fastlane provide you one more tool called Produce. By using Produce is using for installing your for creating your app in Apple iTunes Connect and Apple Developer Tools. And what is then that we'll talk about later. This is your username. So this is your username and this is your app identifier that you give while creating your app, and this is your app name. Okay. So so code signing issue. We will talk about it.
So we have now run our tests using scan, and basically produce what produce does is it creates a new app in the developer portal. So you need to create a new app in the developer portal for you to upload your build to the iTunes Connect. and produce does that automatically. So once you create an app in the developer portal, and once you're ready, once you're sure that your app is working fine in the simulator and all your tests are run, so you need to distribute the app to the testers, and that's when these code signing issues crop up. So we come to the next third tool, which is called Match. So as I said, whenever a new developer is added to your team, or whenever you add a new device to your existing provisioning profile, you need to update the entire profile. And that is why Fastlane gives you something called Match, wherein it generates one single provisioning profile and a single certificate for your team, which is collectively pushed into a common Git repository that's private to your team. And whenever you add a device, or whenever have a new developer to your team, the provisioning profile can be updated through simple commands, and it can be pushed to Git. The other team members can just pull from the Git repository and update their provisioning profile in their local machines. This also gives the advantage that not all of your team members need to be connected to the developer portal and download your provisioning profile every time. It's just enough if you have the access to the Git repository, so that you get updated provisioning profiles every time. And these are few commands. I'll just so since you have to be a part of the developer membership program for you to upload apps to the App Store, and we are not registered in the developer program, and so we cannot create provisioning profile or the certificates currently. So I'm just going to show you how we are going to initialize Match. It asks for the URL of the Git repository. So I've just created a sample repository wherein it will upload your provisioning profile and certificates. Yeah. So now it has created something called match file. So when Vijay initialized Fastlane for the first time, you will have a Fastlane directory in your project. I'll just show you. So this Fastlane directory will be created when you initialize Fastlane for the first time. And the app file and fast file are two files that are created by default. App file is something that gives that will store your Apple ID and your identifier for the app that you're going to build, the app ID that I initially mentioned. And then fast file is something that will have all the tasks that you're going to write for automation. So they have given some sample tasks. We were talking about scan. Scan is for running your tests. So lane is something that's a collection of subtasks that you're going to collectively execute for deployment automation. So currently this lane just runs all your tests in the Xcode. So lane test. So we have the name of the lane as test. So we can go to our command line and execute as Fastlane test. So this does the job of scan. So you could see the tests running in the simulator. So we just have a single blank page in our application, and hence only the page is being tested. So the same report gets generated. So this is an example of a simple lane. Similarly, you can create a lane wherein you run your tests, you build your app, you upload to your iTunes Connect. Now, so what match file does. So fast file and app file you see. Now, when I did match in it, it generates something called match file. Match file has your target environment. Similar to you deploying your web apps to staging to your production. So there are different environments that you need to deploy your app to. So when you give development here, you can give development, you can give ad hoc, you can give app store. So app store is something like production, deploying to production. Development is something that you have within your development team. You give your username and app identifier. Those are config that you can change for yourself in the file. And So match init we have seen, match development, match space any target environment, match development, match app store creates provisioning profiles and your certificates and uploads it to the Git repository. In case you want to revoke any provisioning profile of the certificate that you have already created, that is when you use nuke. Match nuke development revokes whatever profiles and certificates that were already created. So we are done with the unit testing. We are done with all these issues related to provisioning profile and development certificates. Now it's time for us to give our app to the testers. So when you want to distribute your app for testing, you can just state a line in your fast file, and all it does is it distributes the app to the 10 testers via Crashlytics or TestFlight, whatever beta testing that you choose to distribute. And so we'll come to that in a minute. So that is why we use Gym. Gym is something that will build your iOS app. It will generate a binary, and that binary can be distributed via Crashlytics to those testers. So we'll just have Gym in our fast file and see what it does. So I'm just going to create a lane which is going to build my app. So I'm going to call the lane as build. So before building, you need to run your tests. So first I'll run scan to run my unit tests. Once all my tests are run, I'll use Gym. So what is this use legacy build API? You need not give this when you have all your provisioning profiles and certificates in place. Since we don't have all those things in place, the latest Xcode doesn't allow you to build without them. So I'm just going to use the legacy APIs for building. And the name of the lane is build, and hence I'm having Fastlane build. Sorry, then save. So first it does scan. Once your scan is done, it runs Gym. So Gym is for building your app. So once again, it's same. I have an error with the syntax, I'm sorry. Oops. So we have code signing issues popping up because of we don't have provisioning profile and code signing certificates. I'm sorry for that. But once you run Gym, you will get an IPA file as an output, which is essentially the binary file that you are going to upload to the App Store. And you get the app's binary from Gym, and you can also have your screenshots and the description about your app from Fastlane, so that you can together ship them to the iTunes Connect. So Gym is something that just gives you the binary file. You can automate taking screenshots of the latest screens, and you can also automate sending your change log and your release notes to iTunes Connect through two different tools. Vijay is here to explain them.
So Fastlane provide you a tool called snapshot that taking a snapshot of your app, and yeah, that taking a snapshot of your app with different devices and different languages also. And frame it what it does. It does the screenshots in a frame of iOS. In iOS, just like iOS 7 screen snapshot in iOS 7 in iOS 7 frame. So deliver what it does. It uploads your binary file, metadata, and your app and your screenshots in the developer in the iTunes Connect. Yeah.
So we've learned about seven different phases. We can just write a simple lane and test out how it works. So I've not mentioned about something called register devices and increment build number. So there are a lot of a lot of tasks available which you can just run Fastlane action in your command line to list out all different tools that Fastlane offers you. So I'll just go through these two things. So I said whenever you have a new tester to your team and you want to add his UDID to your provisioning profile, you just create a new file called devices.txt, you add his UDID, and you build your Fastlane once again. The device is automatically added to your provisioning profile. That is why registered devices is being used. And every time you send out a build to the testing team, you need to increment the build number. And that is when this Fastlane tool is helpful. It will automatically get the latest build number from your Xcode project, and it will increment the build number. It will create a commit in the in your iOS Git repository and push it to your Git repository, as well as send out the latest build to the testers. And change log. So change log is something whenever you send out the build to your testers, you would wish to give out some comments as in what is the change that you've done since your last distribution. So you can either collect all your Git commits and create a change log by itself and send out, or otherwise you can prompt for a change log from the user and send it out and ship it to your testers. So these are some of the other things that Fastlane helps you to do. So basically, right from running your unit tests to configuring your provisioning profiles, to your certificates, to distributing your app to crash detects, to taking screenshots and adding metadata to iTunes Connect, the entire deployment process is being automated by Fastlane. You can even set up flags when you deploy to iTunes Connect, stating that once the app is being reviewed by Apple, it can automatically be published. It can automatically be published to the end users to the App Store. So when you enable the flag, you need not even go to the iTunes Connect and release out the app to the end users. This automatically does the process of releasing the app to the end customers once Apple approves your app. So you need to just run the build and upload it to iTunes Connect and forget about it. Your app gets released in 2 or 3 days. So, in a nutshell, what Fastlane does is it helps to release, or it helps to automate the deployment process in both iOS and Android. Today we have covered only about iOS, and we've just covered only miniature of tools what Fastlane provides. There are a lot of things apart from these set of 5 to 6 tools that we spoke today. And it's one other point that we didn't mention is about the developer independent deployment. So when you have all your certificates and your profiles being set up in one of your developer machines, and what if the developer is not available when you want to release your app? That is when these kind of tools help you when you have the common Git repository to have the certificates, the profiles, so that anybody in the team, independent of independent of the developer, can deploy the app to production anytime. So that can also be accomplished using Fastlane. Any questions?
So Fastlane supports only Git or any other version controls?
It supports Git currently.
So, in some cases, large organizations, they have their own app store. They don't deploy, deploy their internal applications to their own private app store, and they have permission from Apple to do that. So such and such organization, for example, Bank of America, we have our own app store. So our apps never get approved by Apple. Our apps are never pushed up to the app store. Is there functionality to allow you to do that? Can you customize that in Fastlane?
Currently, no.
So it's only for pushing to iTunes Store.
Yes.
So that's an NPM process?
Yeah.
That's an NPM you're referring to?
I'm not because I don't work on the iOS team. I'm not sure, but I know how they work. Is we don't have any connection with submitting our apps to Apple and getting it approved. We have our app store. We have permission to put whatever we want on our app store. And that is available only to our employees.
Right.
So they have a process.
Yeah, you have it. That's an NPM platform.
That's NPM platform. Okay. So that's basically what it is. That's what I'm asking. So it's not possible, right? So this is for mostly individual developers or teams who are pushing apps to public.
Yes. Any other questions?